Okay, great. Let's get started. So I thought today, instead of me coming to you with kind of lots of markets and trades set up like we do quite a bit at a time, I thought, we'll kind of make it just even more all about you and any markets you want to look at. We can certainly find some opportunities there. For those that are new to these sessions, we focus on one specific strategy, just looking at pure supply and demand in any and all markets. We typically look at obviously the FX pairs, but also the futures markets, and we can really look at anything. When I say supply and demand, we're specifically focused on price levels where, well, let me say it a different way. The goal is to figure out where our market price is going to turn and where our market price is going to go in any market. Well, we know that prices turn in markets at price levels where supply and demand are significantly out of balance. Okay? Then prices not only turn at those levels, but then prices move to opposing supply or demand levels. All right? The difference between the two we call our profit zone. So again, we're focused on where banks and institutions are buying and selling the markets. So we can simply buy and sell there also. Okay? And I'll try to explain more as we go along and look at the market. So let's take a look at the markets. Looks like there's a bunch of comments on the euro. So why don't we just pull that up? Yeah, we do have. So as a lot of you know, we've been pretty bearish on the euro for quite some time. Let's take a look at the charts. When you look at so I see your comment on Sam Evans being bearish and a supply zone above. Certainly see that. There are a couple of them. The euro is, if you look at the daily chart right here, could the euro turn from the area it's in right now and continue lower and make a new low? It could. Okay. Kind of the safer, or I should say the higher probability, bigger profit zone opportunity would come from this level right here. I know it seems like price is kind of far. Right there. Okay. So there we go. About 113.40 all the way up to 114. Now that's a big daily level. Okay. Let's see. You're saying you have one there. Yeah. No, I gotcha. But let's go down a couple time frames and look. The market is struggling at the areas. It's in right now. So let's take a look. Yeah, certainly the 114 is an area, but this is a nice area of supply above. It looks perfect. Look, you look at the odds enhancers, right? Strong drop in price away from the level. Very little trading at the level. Notice how far prices would have to travel to get to that level. Okay. Yeah, so let's go down to a time frame and plan this out, because when you look at the daily, it looks like, oh, no problem, the euro can just free fall, but that's not the case when you look at the smaller time frames. And we don't even need to go all the way down to a 15-minute chart. Okay. These little areas in here could be there's like 2 or 3 little demand zones in here on top of each other. Yes, if once we get through those, this should be no big deal to get back down through this area. We would expect that to happen. What the euro is dealing with right now, the reason why it's getting hung up here the last few hours is I'm just going to make all of this one level. And we haven't even hit this part of it yet. Well, I guess we did. So even if you make a new low in this area, if you're a short-term euro trader and you're looking for a little bounce, a new low into this level should be, we could probably buy that. Let's go down to the micro time frames. Not much of a profit zone, but if you're looking for one of those little bounce trades, may have an opportunity there. Okay. So watch for that. And let me go down to a really small time frame just to see if we can have any little active trading opportunities here. Let's see what we have just above here. We may have a short-term income level. Yeah, look at that. So watch this area in here. I'm just going to put a couple areas on top of each other. Okay. This looks like a tiny little level, but we're only looking at a 5-minute chart. So that's right at the 109.50 mark. Going up to 54. Next one starts at 58. Going up to 65. Okay. Now we see that you do have a little demand over here. Blow this up a little. What I'm getting at is this little guy right here. All I'm pointing out are the fresh supply and demand zones. So watch that. If you take a short up there and it comes down, you'd want to get out just before this level. So because that opposing level is down there, remember we want to exit just before the opposing level. So why don't we go just that level comes in at let's see 23. I'm sure we're probably good to 25. I'm going to make the target a blue line. Okay. Remember, there's competition to buy at that demand zone. So Dennis, you just took this one. Nice job. There's competition to buy at that demand zone, so we don't want to buy where there's competition to buy. We want to buy just before that area. So I think we just mapped out the longer-term bearish opportunity in the euro. We're also looking at the short-term bearish opportunity in the euro. Obviously, shorting from higher prices is ideal. So 108.40. Let's see. Oh, so you're talking about something way down here. 108.40, no, that we would not take that because that's a pivot low. So that's a pullback into demand to the left. So that's not a fresh level, is my point. Remember, we only want to deal with fresh levels. And did that just meet entry? Wow, that popped up there really quick. Okay. So that was a quick little pop up there. Oh, that was really quick. All right, we'll leave that one alone and check on it. Let's go to some other markets. The markets we had, let's see. There's a nice shorting opportunity here in the Dow Mini. Let's see if we Hang on a sec. Let's wait for these last two charts. Let's see. Yeah, if you look at the Dow Mini today, let's see how far deep it went into this zone. Well, it didn't really go that far at all. So let me give you something really quick here. So if you see this area right here, and then what's happening at currently, watch this little level right here. It's turning into like a little day trading session. I didn't mean for that to happen. Now watch for it. You have another little supply level here. Okay. 17,650. Let's see. I'm sorry, I didn't see that one. Yeah, I think you're talking about this little level right here. I'd be careful with that. And instead, if we ended up going higher at some point during the session, we'd watch these two levels sitting up here. Oops. All right, so we have a couple of fresh levels. I know that looks very far from current price, but it's remember we're looking at a 5-minute chart, and it's the YM. That's for Euro for a second. I'm sorry, we just looked at the Euro. Let's go to this market. I'm looking at it. Anybody trade the DAX? I think I asked that last time. Okay. There's some old levels in the DAX, but let's take a look. So the DAX, don't just start trading the DAX if you don't trade it right now. It's a kind of a big money market. I wanted to point out. So the reason we're looking at the DAX is this is out of all the equity index markets, this is one of the weaker ones. And I wanted to point out to you. Well, let's go to the small time frames, I guess. You know what? Never mind. I thought there was a good level earlier. I was looking at this area here, and I thought we were set up nicely for a short. But there's really nothing on the small time frames to take a look at. Well, it just hasn't rallied up as much as the Nasdaq and S&P have during the rallies, and it's been fun shorting it. Sure, we can look at I'm just looking at the request for markets. We've got the pound euro in there for Amrajit. Let's look. Just go back to that. You wanted the pound yen, no problem. Let's just wait for this last. Last chart to come up. I see your question there about time-based charts. You know, for short-term trading in anything but the FX pairs, well, I shouldn't say that. Short-term trading in the FX market, I typically do through the futures. So any of that, you know, in the smaller time frames, I always include a non-time-based chart. If you look at the black chart in the upper right corner of the screen, that is a the time is not a factor in those, you know, what you're looking at there, the data. Okay, the pound yen, if you take a look at the chart, there's not a whole lot to talk about from current levels, but if we look at, we somewhat, I don't know if you want to call this a larger time frame, but so the first question, the overall question when we come to a chart is, obviously, where's price likely to turn and go, right? So to answer that, we have to figure out where the path of least resistance is for price. And we're down to a 60-minute chart already. And to do this, we want to find our fresh, you know, supply above and fresh demand below. There's not a lot of great stuff on this chart, so we're not going to spend much time here. But if we go to this area up here, and we've seen this in some of the other pairs, right? We have some supply above. Again, this is not that close to current price, but we are looking at a 60-minute chart, so price can get there fairly quickly. Okay, now when we go below current price to look for demand, to make it easy on myself, I'm going to put a horizontal line there and scroll left until we find some demand, some fresh demand. So we don't have any here, so I'm going to pull this line down. We don't have any here, so I'm going to pull this line down. And I guess what I'm going to get at really quick is there's a lot of room below. In fact, I'm not even going to change the time frame or add days. We don't need to. So overall, looking at anything on a 60-minute chart or some of those bigger time frames, I would want to be short because if you look below current price, you have all this activity below 185.50. 185.50 to 183.50. Does everybody see all the activity in that range? Okay. In fact, let me just do this. Okay, let me, I'll make a, I think this will help you. So I wrote an article on this last week, and hopefully it's helpful. So in the gray box, is that the picture of unfilled orders or orders being filled? What is that the picture of? Orders being filled. Why? Because there's lots of trading activity taking place, and price keeps coming back to that level. What's the picture of, you know, what's the picture of unfilled orders going to look like? It's going to be a price level where you have very little trading, price takes off and doesn't come back. Or white space, exactly. Oh, thanks, Jason, for posting that. Yeah, so Jason has posted that article. If you're, you know, hopefully it'll help you. It kind of deals with this concept. So to answer the question, you know, where's the path of least resistance? There's not much to stop price falling through this area because, again, if there was such a big supply-demand imbalance in that gray box, you wouldn't have so much trading there. It's literally impossible, right? There could be new orders, and there's always new orders coming in, RFK, but probably not significant ones. Remember, the people that have all the money are very smart buyers and sellers. They almost always buy low and sell high and plan for those positions. Okay? You know, I spent quite a bit of time on the trading floor and on the institution side of the business, right, the bank side of the business, and I started in the FX market. And it was very, very rarely did someone call in and give us and I dealt with banks, institutions, money managers, funds, and very rarely did someone call in with a giant order to buy, especially when prices are up. Usually it's limit orders that are sitting there, or when price drops significantly, limit orders that come in and people start buying low and all that. So anyway, but when we look at the picture above now, okay, which are those two yellow boxes, price spent very little time there and fell and has not been able to come back to that area. So long story short, you have two kind of pockets of unfilled sell orders above against the picture of filled orders below. What's the path of least resistance? We would conclude that it's down. And I didn't mean to take too much time doing that, but just wanted to help you understand. All right, let's move on to another market. And let's see here. Let's go to, I think someone wanted the dollar Canadian. Okay. So we're just waiting for the chart to catch up. There we go. Let's start with the weekly and work our way down. So we look at the weekly at the Canadian. We are into an area right here. The big area where I would expect everything to change and the Canadian to really change direction is way up here. But that's far from current price. We're nowhere near that level now. But let's just have it out there. For those that have been with us at FX Street for this long, these kind of these areas, price always ends up hitting these areas and big moves off these areas. Here we go. So where we're at right now is in the middle of this stuff here. Let's go down to a daily chart and take a look at that. Again, I'm going to put a horizontal line across the high price here, just as a reference point. Now let's scroll left until we hit that price. Here we are. So again, we see there's really no significant supply there. The next fresh level on this chart is up at the 145, but we wouldn't use it. Why wouldn't we take this level over here to the left in the circle? What's the problem? What's the odds enhancer that would disqualify that? Anybody? Yeah, you see that wick to the upside there? That's a problem. Okay. And the logic behind that is if there was so much supply in this level, right? In other words, if supply really exceeded demand in a big way in that level, how did price rally at the end of that level to create that wick? Does that make sense? It couldn't. Okay. Well, the yellow box, we're taking the whole area, and we found that on the weekly chart. But yeah, we're taking this whole area. In fact, now that we're looking at it on the daily, we would take it up here. Actually, we would take it right there. The reality is we found that on the weekly. We're actually going to have to go up. I'm sure you're going to get a turn in price on a smaller time frame there, but this would be the level right here. Okay. Looking at the daily. Let's go down to a smaller time frame, though. This will be fun. Okay, let's go to the 4 hour. I'm going to add a lot more days in here. Let's get some more days in. Let's put a horizontal line across the top. Let's scroll back. Oops. I think I got enough days. Oh, sorry. All right, here we go. Okay, so now we're looking at a 4 hour. Now the horizontal line, again, it just makes the analysis quicker. We're going to scroll back until we see that line again. And maybe I'm just not getting the data. Let's see. Should probably just go to the weekly chart and see exactly when that was. But, hang on a second. You should have sound. There we go. Now we have it. So this is what price is getting hung up on. No surprise, right? There's always, if price stops, and especially if price turns, there's always a level. Never like not a level. But this looks good. This looks okay. So this comes in at 136, call it 136.35, all the way up to 136.75. So I don't think we got that high yet. We didn't. So we got up to about 136.20. So here's a nice thing. This is a nice potential bull trap. We've been bouncing around here for hours, okay, actually a couple days. And, you know, what if we break out to a new high? Is that going to set kind of bullish expectations or bearish expectations? You know, what are people going to think? Bullish, right. So what you want, what's likely to happen, this is one of our favorite setups here at Online Trading Academy. You get that new high, the retail trader comes in and buys at a price level where banks and institutions are selling. It's a pretty high probability trade. Okay. Here's that euro. Anybody in on this? It's kind of halfway to that target we put out there. Let's see here. All right. Let's see what's going on there. Let's see what's likely to happen. All right, so we did hit a little bit of demand. Now we're looking at the 2, but we have some supply here. So, you know, we certainly could hit the target here. I would just sit tight. You can also probably move your stop down to just above this new supply level. This is tough to get filled, though. I mean, we just barely touched the level. Again, when you find levels where banks are buying and selling, one of the things we do quite a bit is get in just before the level. That's why we get out just before the level. Because we're now placing our buy and sell orders where banks are buying and selling. So you can get a lot of competition there. What other markets did you want to look at? I can look at, I can get to any. And don't forget that larger time frame demand sitting just below. And then with all that, we've got, you know, obviously the longer term bearish view. Crude, yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot to look at in crude, but let's take let's look. I was looking at crude a little while ago. Okay, just waiting for the chart to get up here. Here we go. On the 4 hour? Sure. There it is. Well, real quick though, you can kind of see where we're at in crude, but again, this is not what we're looking at over to the left is not demand. That's a big pivot low, meaning prices have been there, orders have been filled already. Okay, so just want to make you aware of that. So now let's go to that 4 hour and see if we can find a shorting. I see a great shorting opportunity, but it's not super close to current price. So given that we expect lower prices in crude, we have two levels sitting on top of each other here that we would want to certainly pay attention to. There's that one. And then there's the one sitting just above it. I wouldn't worry about that wick there because it's at the beginning of the level. So it's kind of part of the leg into the level. Okay. All right. Now that kind of looks far from current price. Yeah, Delphin. Yeah, that's that one looks good. Time of day doesn't matter as long as, but it depends what market you're looking at. For example, these equity index futures, a couple hours before the market opened, and about an hour and a half to 2 hours into, after the open, that's your prime. Those are your prime trading times, right? Okay. So this comes in at about 130. I'm sorry, 39.35. And if you combine the two, you're at 40 and call it 40 and a quarter. So you need your stop at about 40.45. Okay. So possibly an entry at 39.35 and a stop at 40.45. If that's too much risk, you can always go down a time frame and reduce that a little bit. Okay. But yeah, this looks like it has a pretty healthy profit zone with it. Notice how prices just, remember I said that big weekly level over to the left is not demand, it's just a pivot low, which means it's actually the picture of orders being filled. That's what this thing is over here. Back around, late August. That's why you see how prices went right through that? It should. We expect it to. Where most people would call this price support because it's a pivot low, it's actually the opposite. All right. So watch for that. Great shorting opportunity there in crude. The other thing is that whole flip concept with our odds enhancers, that's also at play here. And then what this whole area picture is turning into is a new weekly supply zone. Everybody see that? All right, let's move on. Next market. Yeah, gold. So here's gold. So we are looking for another leg down in gold. We talked about this the other day, but just beware, be careful that you do have some. You're probably going to have some demand right around the 1060 mark. That's not to say that our big target below is now out of play. Just going to take a little bit longer. Okay. So what's likely to happen? Let me blow up this 4-hour chart. I look at gold a lot. You see how prices are just facing sideways in here? Okay. So right here, that's where prices are. We don't have a supply zone yet. I'm certainly not ready to call this a supply zone, but it may very well turn into one. So if prices drop a little bit more out of this level, we'll have a supply zone. We can then short a rally in that supply zone and likely take a ride in price down to demand. In the bigger picture, yeah, we're looking to hit this demand zone down here. Okay, it's taking a little bit longer than I thought, but we're getting stuck in this demand zone that's not fully absorbed yet, but some buyers left in here, but probably not too many. Yeah, the long opportunity in the bigger time frame. So again, we've been pretty bearish gold for about 3 years now, but the looking for a pop in gold, a significant pop, is usually likely to come from this 1010 or 1009 area. Okay. So that's gold. Here's our euro. Looks like it's popping back up. Maybe we can get see if we can get an entry out of this. Let's wait for this chart to pop up. So, for those that are not in this trade, well, what do you do? What if it comes back up? What if it comes back up into that level? Should you take the trade or no? What if it pops back up in there? Yeah, not technically a fresh level. The times usually we want to take that first pullback, but at times where price just touches the level and turns, typically we'll take that next pullback. Obviously, doing that in the spot Forex market is the riskiest. I say that I'm not saying there's a lot of risk, but it's riskier than doing it in in other markets. So let me go over to the euro futures really quick. Let's take a look at there they are. Let's look at this 5-minute chart. Yeah, often that second pullback is great. And the reason for that is because the move out of that area from that first pullback opens up more of a profit zone. It clears out more of the opposing orders that, which is what we want. So here's what the futures look like. There's a euro futures chart. So not bad. Here we went, a little bit deeper in the level if we want to get real kind of surgical about this. Looks okay. Obviously, you got a nice 2.5 to 1 out of the first move into there, but it's okay. fine. But you see how, another thing I want to pull out. Do you see how if you're focusing on, trading the Forex futures, short-term trading the Forex futures, here the trade would have met entry. In the spot market, it was much tougher. Okay? That's right. Spread comes into play. You just have to be careful. There's a few other elements in the spot market that make the short-term trading a little bit more difficult than it likely is in the spot market. Let's go over to the S&P for a minute. I think. Was that the S&P or was it the NASDAQ? Oh, I'm sorry, wrong set of markets here. All right, actually, I think we're looking at the Dow Mini. Just a second. Sorry, these charts are so slow. We always have a chart of the dollar up over here to the left, too. We'll take a look at that. Let me just get that on a smaller time frame. Not a whole lot to look at here in the S&P. You're just, the levels are very close to each other, at least the small time frame levels. I know the dollar is kind of slowly moving higher. I think you want to really, I'm just going to combine a couple areas. Well, let's just do this. I'm going to really watch this level in here. Okay? Yeah, TradeStation is it's quick. TradeStation is quick. It's more that black chart with with those white lines that is taking a little time to load. Yeah, dollar's brushing up against weekly supply and also on the small time frames. That's going to be a tough level to get through. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's also go up to the weekly. Or for those of us who have been with us for a while, remember these levels we were trading off of in the dollar? I never took these lines off, but we've had some great levels in the dollar over the years on the larger time frames. It's kind of the only trade you need to make. Let me scrunch this up though. Yeah, so this is what the dollar's up against here. Certainly struggling, barely touching it and falling. So eventually the dollar probably will make a run for this really nice supply zone, but that's pretty far from the current price. Oops, let me fix this chart right here. There's my email address, Seiden@tradingacademy.com. Sorry, just notice we're pretty much out of time here. I'm sure you have another webinar or something coming up. Hopefully that was helpful. Watch that euro, and I believe it was the YM too. We set up a couple trades, and crude oil also. If you get that rally, that looks like a fantastic level. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon. If you have any questions again, just shoot me an email, Seiden@tradingacademy.com. Have a great day, everybody.